Micah Parsons was drafted 12th overall by the Dallas Cowboys in the 2021 NFL Draft. Standing at 6'3", 245 pounds, the Penn State product opted out of the 2020 season, but his outstanding play in his freshman and sophomore campaigns is what truly catapulted him to a first-round selection. In this episode of Unraveling Skill, we're going to take a look at Micah Parsons, and we're going to look at his skill as a run defender. And remember, as we look at these exposures, we're going to be looking through a problem solver lens. That means we're going to be looking at the compatibility of the solution, meaning to what degree did the solution on the field meet the task goals as well as respond to the various tactical and environmental phenomena. And we're also going to look at the execution of the solution. To what degree did the technique that emerged meet the spatial, temporal demands on the field as the play unfolded. And specifically, we want to note the resourcefulness of the player, right? How opportunistic was Micah Parsons in adapting to the various types of constraints as the play unfolded? So let's go ahead and take a look at this play. This is from his freshman year. It's important to note that Penn State is a 4-3 over defensive team. That's the best way to describe their defensive front. And here's Micah Parsons. He's right here. He's in a 50 technique, which is outside shade of the tackle, off the line of scrimmage. And again, in a 4-3 over defense, we know that every player is responsible for a gap. So we're going to go ahead and let this play run, and then we're going to go and have a quick discussion. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. From a problem solver standpoint, let's start with the compatibility of Parsons' solutions to the overall play. Right, when we look at the actual outcome of the play, we can see that in general it was pretty good. There was a minimal gain by the ball carrier. And in terms of Parsons' accuracy, in terms of responding and being sensitive to the different types of informational sources available, he really does a nice job of responding to the split flow action in the backfield. He also shows some good sensitivity to the run blocking demeanor of the offensive line as he approaches the line of scrimmage. And as you can see, he also shows sensitivity to the potential kick out block by the sniffer or the tight end on the opposite side of the formation as he comes across. He does a nice job adjusting his trajectory. In terms of the execution of his overall play, he maintains the gap as he approaches the line of scrimmage, and you can see that he recognizes and adapts to the possibility of this kick-out block, right? Right as he gets to the line of scrimmage, you can see that he's aware of the kick-out block. He tightens his trajectory to the line of scrimmage and does a nice job getting into the backfield, and he gets the tackle for a marginal gain. But right here, this is the only thing. If we're going to be a little bit nitpicky here, the arm tackle isn't the most ideal. I'm sure he would say that himself, especially at the next level when he's going to be facing stronger and bigger backs. For sure, this is not a tackling posture or situation he would like to be in. Of course, he did what the problem gave him. He adjusted and adapted and made a fine play. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at another play. All right, so here we go. This is a little later in the game. As you can see, this is the third quarter. Michigan is on Penn State's 35-yard line, and the ball is in the middle of the field, and Michigan is in a pistol-strong, tight right, trips formation, and Penn State is in their kind of 4-3 over defense. Parsons is sitting here in a 30 technique, okay, which means that he's currently just slightly outside shade of the guard, away from the trip side of the formation. And again, when they're in a trips formation, you could see how the linebackers have shifted over in order to accommodate the extra coverage needed for the trip side of the formation. So let's go ahead and take a look at this play, let it unfold, and then we'll have a quick discussion. All right, so overall, the compatibility of the solution, you can definitely say that this was an optimal outcome. There's a tackle for a loss. Great job by Micah Parsons putting the offense backwards in their play. In terms of his overall accuracy, in terms of coupling his movements to the various phenomena, tactical as well as environmental, you can see that he couples his movements nice to the split flow in the backfield. He does a nice job coupling his movements to the flow of the offensive line, right? At the snap of the ball, there's a clear run demeanor to the offensive line in the way that they move as a group. And you can see as he moves, he's scanning. He's scanning that front side A gap to that backside B gap. So he's aware of all the different areas of interest and potential areas of information that he has to be aware of. In terms of his overall timing, I think this is probably where you can get a little bit nitpicky because he does hesitate here, right? As he's reading the overall offensive line, he's not entirely sure where this ball is going. He knows it's going downhill. He knows it's going to one of those two gaps, but he doesn't really recognize this guy right here, his teammate, right? His teammate is responsible for the A-gap. So you would think that in terms of his speed to the football, you would think that there wouldn't be any hesitancy in choosing which gap to fill. You would think that he would stick to the gap that he's assigned, and he would try to fill the gap accordingly. But again, these are just small things, but at the NFL level, sometimes those small things can end up being a very large point in a play. So in terms of the execution of his overall movements, you can see he gets downhill very quickly. He showed his resourcefulness by making sure he adapted to the flow of the backfield and recognizing that the B gap was the point of attack. He gets immediately downfield, makes a good kind of shoulder leverage tackle here, and ends up tackling this offensive player for a loss. Overall, great pay by Micah Parsons. Let's go ahead and take a look at another play. All right, so here we go. It's week 10, Wisconsin versus Penn State. Wisconsin is in a Wildcat formation with the tight end to the boundary and the trips to the field. And as you can see, Penn State is in their typical 4-3 defense. And here is Micah Parsons. He's right here. He's in what best can be described as a 30 technique from this angle. As you can see, the linebackers are shifted over to the trip side to help the coverage in managing the space to the field. And we're going to go ahead and let this play unfold, and then we're going to go ahead and have a quick discussion. All right, so this is an outstanding play by Micah Parsons, and it's a slightly different exposure than the previous play, not only because it's a Wildcat formation, but because of the types of problems that Parsons faces in this particular play. I think it gives us another kind of vantage point on his skill level as the play unfolds. Notice, first of all, let's talk from a compatibility standpoint. Obviously, the overall solution, I would consider this optimal in the sense that there was a tackle for a loss. In terms of his responsiveness to the actual different types of informational resources that were available for him to kind of couple his movements to, you can see he's very responsive in terms of flowing towards where the backfield flow is going, right? This is an outside run flow, so you can see that he's sensitive to that at the snap. You can see he's very sensitive to the run demeanor of the offensive line. He recognizes where the ball is potentially going. But I want you to notice right here, just so you can see it, notice how he checks that front side A gap and then works towards that backside area to begin to kind of make this play. Again, this slight little kind of check backwards towards the backside A gap leaves me a little bit, not concerned, but again, in terms of his timing, in terms of the speed with which he transitions from one gap to the next, I wonder to what degree that was really necessary. So it's just something to keep kind of track of. We've seen that in a previous play, but I do think that it doesn't really hamper him here as his transitions to the outside are excellent. It's smooth getting to the outside. Notice he fills his gap as that cornerback comes in to challenge that fullback and take him on. Notice Parsons right here. This is the interaction that I think makes this play worth looking at. This is an offensive guard. This guy outweighs him. He's stronger than him. But look at what Parsons is able to do. He challenges the pressure. He challenges the leverage. He not only mitigates the force that's provided by that particular block, but he eliminates it. He fills the gap, stays square in his gap, and there's the ball carrier right here. And Micah Parsons is on a collision course for making this tackle. This is not only an example of his overall strength, but it shows his resourcefulness, right? He understands what was happening on the play. He was preparing his body, lowered his center of gravity. You could see it. If we rewind it just a little bit, notice how he lowers, right? Right there. You see him going from high to low, high to low. He recognizes what's happening. He takes it on with his outside shoulder. He eliminates the block by the guard, which is no small task, stays square in his gap, and does a great job getting a shoulder leverage tackle right to the ground of the running back. Outstanding play by Micah Parsons. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more play of Micah Parsons as a run defender. All right, so here we go. This is week 3, 2019. This is his sophomore year. As you can see, it's Penn State versus Pittsburgh. As you can see, Pittsburgh right now has the ball. They're currently sitting on Pittsburgh's 13-yard line. They're in a pistol strong, tight right, 2-by-1 set. And you can see that, again, Penn State is in their 4-3 defense. And again, right here, here's Micah Parsons. He is what can best be described from this angle. He's in a 10 technique, which is going to be essentially right just outside shade or play side shade of the actual center. So he's right there in this A gap right here. He's right there. And we're going to go ahead and let this play unfold, and then we're going to go back and have a quick discussion. All right, so let's take a look at Micah Parsons through this unique lens, this kind of unique kind of vantage point. There he is in the 10 technique. He's responsible for the A-gap. And again, from an overall compatibility standpoint, yes, tackle for a loss, definitely a win in terms of his overall ability to help his defense and mitigate the effectiveness of that offense. But let's go ahead and look in a little bit more detail. Of course, we see that same sensitivity, that great sensitivity to the backfield action or flow of the offense, and also that great sensitivity to the offensive line's demeanor. What are they doing? Are they pass blocking? Are they run blocking? Clearly, he understands they're run blocking. So you can see this is why he's full speed downhill. But right here, right there, he gets a little hesitant. And I think this speaks to his overall timing and resourcefulness, meaning how sensitive is he to this situation working downhill? How sensitive is he to the trajectory of the running back relative to his responsibilities in this play? We've seen him have a little bit of trouble working downhill quite often. And it doesn't mean that he can't work downhill. It just means that there's a momentary hesitancy. This would be a great place for him to develop at the next level. This is where we want to present problems for him in practice, where he has to work downhill vertically, not working side to side, where he has to begin to manage the different types of informational resources that he might see on a given play. Because he still makes the tackle for a loss, but it's an arm tackle. And at the next level, that arm tackle may not get the job done. So again, overall, play is great, solid play, but right here, this is where I think a problem solver lens really helps. We begin to see an area where he could definitely develop, and that's working from an inside position as a linebacker downhill, where he has to differentiate the types of information he's seeing to that which is the most important for him to move, which is how do I assess what's happening at the offensive line versus the backfield flow of the offense? How do I begin to work a little faster in a vertical type of direction? How can I begin to be presented with that problem more often? And that's what's going to happen in practice at the NFL level. They're going to give him a lot of practice, hopefully working these situations.